thanks for doing this. And then I'm going to ask you, when did you first come to Rising Sun?
The first time I was in this place?
Yeah.
I came with the choir from Bouchard Christian College, and it was 1969,
Wow.
and the building was pretty new down on the south end.
Okay.
And I stayed at the English's house as one of the choir members, and just over here. That was the first time, but that was pretty brief.
What was your first impression of Rising Sun?
Nice building. That's about all I knew, really. Summer of '83, I got invited to be on staff over at the Bible College, and here got both of those in 1 week. And I didn't think I was qualified for the college, even though I was teaching up north, but I didn't think I was qualified. And Sue wanted to come back to the States. So came down, interviewed in '83 in your basement.
The basement at the parsonage.
Yeah. And then moved down here in just in time for Halloween. I took my son, who was 3 years old at the time, over to Halford Cooker's house, get a little candy. Yeah, I can tell you what my first impressions were. I mean, like from the interview and stuff. The guys were pretty thorough. They were friendly. They were very kingdom oriented. They were very interested in this church being, I use the word successful.
Faithful.
Yes. And making a difference. There was a lot of talk of starting new churches around town, being involved in a lot of things. The church is very active in a lot of ways. Lots of stuff going on all the time. So the youth music department was real strong. There was a lot of interest in that kind of thing. And they wanted me to come and be the youth minister and the music minister, quote unquote. In those days, the music was quite a bit easier to do. We had choirs, but on Sunday morning it was a piano and organ, and we had a bulletin, and we followed the bulletin, and we sang out of the hymn book 400 songs instead of 40. And I always felt like it was my responsibility to acquaint them with the breadth of that book. So we sang a lot of that kind of stuff.
So Dave, you carry a very unique perspective with your relationship with Rising Sun for multiple reasons. One, you were hired on as a pastor. You've been a music minister, and then eventually you would become the senior pastor at Rising Sun towards the turn of the 2010 decade, 2008-9, and then you served faithfully for 7 years as senior pastor. But now, Rising Sun is your church. I mean, it's what I mean by that. It's not that it belongs to you, but you belong to her.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, this is your church. And so, with that, what do you appreciate the most about the history that we're connected to with Rising Sun?
I still like the idea that the church as a whole has a vision that's bigger than just Rising Sun. I always felt like it was important to be involved with CEM, with camps, with area preachers meetings, things to be involved to try to encourage the saints in a larger way. Rising Sun is one of the larger churches in the area, so there was always that's a love-hate relationship, really. It's a mouse and an elephant in the same room type thing. It's a love-hate relationship sometimes. So you try to tread carefully, but at the same time to help where you can, give leadership where you can without domineering.
Yeah.
But yeah, the church still has that feel to me, working hard, both the leadership and the congregation at large. I like that a lot.
Let's go back to some of the music ministry. How has the music ministry changed through the years?
Massively. Like I said with the hymn book, I mean, that was it. Well, then started doing medleys, and our instrumentalists had to learn how to do that. And then we started doing, with those medleys, using projection, and not just out of a book, because you can't really do medleys very well when you're going from page to page. And so I had to type those up and take them downtown to a camera operator and have those turned into negatives. And then I had to make the slides and put them in a projector. Had to buy a lens that would shoot from the balcony to the front of the sanctuary. I had to have Scott Cyberlin and a couple other guys build a thing to even hold the screen at the front. And then they had to project that. That lens cost $300. And that was a lot of money. When I came here, they had a real strong teen choir. And part of my coming here was to do that. And I had done that in Canada too. So I led that for, we had a teen choir of 50 kids. We'd rent a bus, and we were all over from the Rocky Mountains to Ohio, Florida, Texas. Took them to Canada twice. And I did that for a few years, and then recruited Chris Wolf to lead that, and she did as well. I still put the tours together, but she led them on, and I didn't go with them because it was too big. I had we had a teen choir, junior high choir, cherub choir, elementary little kids choir, and an adult choir too. So we had 5 choirs and 3 ensembles, various kinds, and so music was a big part for sure. Just piano and organ for a long time, and then kind of started augmenting a little bit here and there with things, and ended up with a band. And no books at all. It's all on the screens, a lot more video production, a whole lot more in the way of sound. Our sound system, when I first got here, was a Bogan 4-channel microphones. That was it. 4. And our old sanctuary was on 7 levels. And a vanity rail all the way around it that was solid, and took all that out and flattened it out so you could get in and out and up and down. And we were very much production oriented. We did, all of those groups did multiple musicals every year. Junior 2, Cherubs 1 or 2, teen choir, a big production, and the adults did at least 2 a year too. And then we had a drama too, as far as that goes.
So when you came, we were still on the south end of the building, where the current youth center is.
Right.
Describe a normal Sunday morning service. Describe some of the physical aspects. Maybe even talk about sermons or stories that stand out to you.
The service was a little more formal, if you want to call it that. We sang several songs. Communion was served, of course, every Sunday. The guys would come in on the 3rd verse of a song. One of the elders would give a devotion of some kind, and then they would pass it And then they come back in and they get the offering trays and do it again. Usually had, quote unquote, and I always hated the term. I don't agree with the term special music. Because it was routine as dirt around here, and because it's not special, it's just testimonial. And so there was usually that kind of thing, and with the ensembles, there was always a lot of that. Prayer, of course. A highlight that comes to my mind is we had a film crew from Russia. The news organization TASS, I think it was here and filmed one of our services to take back to Russia to show on kind of like a PBS show in Russia. Of course, preaching, we had 2 services, did 2 services for 30 years. 8 o'clock, and then Sunday school, in between an hour for Sunday school, and then second service. They were identical, and that grew from, well, when Doug was the preacher here, went from literally, 150 people eventually to about 700. So there was a lot of evolution in what we did and kinds of things we did and who did it, that kind of thing. Does that would answer your question?
Yeah. All right, so how about, talk about the geographic changes that you've seen.
Geographic in the way of
How has the
property?
area physically changed?
When I came here, Rising Sun Drive went all the way into Pleasant Hill. It wasn't Oakwood Drive, and that road was dirt. 64th was paved. And University had become the 4 lanes that it is fairly recently, because the highway used to be the next street over on the north side of the cemetery. That was Old Highway, not 6, but 63. Of course, there was no high school out there. There was the junior high building that's there now was there, but nothing real else. From McDonald's in Pleasant Hill east, there was nothing but cornfields and beans. South of here and southwest of here, pretty much the same way. Pleasant Hill was 30% of what it is now, I suppose, as far as just population.
Well, and speaking of that, that's a great transition, because when you came to Rising Sun originally, the campus that we currently enjoy was probably 30% of what it is today. I mean, specifically the building itself. We had 2 developments during your tenure. Yeah.
They built the south end, excuse me, down here at 66. And then they built from the old foyer there down there on that end of the building. The library, the hallway, the gymnasium, all those classrooms, the kitchen, all that was added in about 81, thereabouts. So that was here when I got here. And then we put an addition, a kind of lean-to, 4 classrooms on the north side of the gym, about, 87, 88, somewhere in there. Those 2 services were in the south end in the old sanctuary for a long time. And then while we were building the new one, we moved into the gym. And we still had 2 services in the gym for, 2 or 3 years. The congregation built the new sanctuary and building pretty much. I'd say probably 75, 80% of it was done by guys in the church. We built a building for a little over $1 million, and it's been insured for 3-4 times that. We were anxious to get in here. We moved in just as quick as we could get a occupancy thing. Floor was concrete. It wasn't painted. It was a mess, but we moved in anyway. The gym, man, we would it was a basketball floor, so we made it so you could lift the backboards, get them up high, and we set up a stage. And for a long time, we did it every week because we had things going on in the gym. But eventually, we got to where we just left it up because it was too much. The church was on the southeast corner of the parking lot out here on the property. When that little church, I don't know why they decided to buy 10 acres. I don't know why they did. That was really far-reaching, incredibly important to the history of this church. A group of 75, 80 people. Why? But they bought 10 acres here on the corner. There was a pond here. There was a post office. Some of that kind of stuff, mostly farm ground. And they bought that 10 acres. And then in 66, they were talking, this is what I understand is the story. I may not be exactly right, but in 66, they were talking about trying to do something for some of the younger families that had children, and taking them out to the outhouse was not something that the younger families wanted to do anymore. So they were talking about putting a lean-to on the old building that would have a bathroom in it. And again, somebody, I don't know who, particularly, or if it was one person or several, they instead decided to build what we call the old sanctuary building now, where the offices are. They built that building, Goodman Church Builders, a similar building to many around the country, really. If they hadn't bought that 10 acres, we'd be in a world of hurt. When we built the new sanctuary, the 10 acres was not enough because the church is in the county rather than in the city. Let's get this right. Yeah, in the county. And in the county, you're only allowed to have a roof over, I think, like 20% of the property. If you're in the city, you can put a roof over 80% of your property. We wanted to build this building that was going to be pretty good sized, and the 10 acres wasn't enough. So we had to buy 3 more acres to be able to build the new facility. We bought that and built this thing. And
who did we buy that from?
From the Pattersons next door, George and Bev. Without those 3 acres, we'd be in a world of hurt too. And now we use them. We use most of them for various things. Really, really blessed with facility. And some of it's a little older. We'd like to change some of it, some ways, blah, blah, blah. But comparatively, it's pretty good. We have held funerals here at Rising Sun for the community because for a long time we were the largest facility outside of the high school for events. It's not that way so much anymore, but was for quite a while.
If you could describe Rising Sun in a couple of words, 2 or 3 words, what would those words be and why?
Faithfulness, generosity, a willingness to change. Folks may not like some things, but typically it hasn't been nasty. I think they love each other and they want the best on the whole. Sure, there are days when there's some strong opinion, but on the whole, adaptability, willing to give it a try, enough graciousness to let you try. And they're not real good or not real bad, however you want to put it, about if it doesn't work, they don't beat you with it.
So a lot of grace.
Yeah, that's more than 2 or 3 words, but yeah.
Fast forward 30 years. The congregation of Rising Sun in 2054. They're celebrating the 200-year celebration.
I won't be here.
I know, but what would you tell them?
I can't even imagine what the culture will be like in 2054. I have told the elders here in the past, the city has moved to us, and that we have a window of 20 years because young families have moved here into the neighborhood and all that kind of stuff, and the high school is growing. That won't be the case in 30 years from now. If they don't do it now, they'll be like the big churches downtown. I have a lot of facility and nobody here.
So that's talking to the elders today. What do you tell the elders then?
If what I just said took place, you better pray. It's not that there won't be opportunity, but the culture of the church will be different because the makeup of it will be older. It just will be. And the makeup of the community will be the same way. And Prairie City will be where the kids are, and Bondurant, places like that. I guess I would just tell them, you know, preach it, try to be as consistent as it can be, love the people, and the church will be vibrant. There'll be a presence for sure. Maintain this place, you know, and try to be involved and be generous. Be a generous church to the community and the people that are in leadership and the people that come in as guests, I guess. Preach it, teach it, live it, have fun. I don't know. I'll be long gone. Man, the world would be a better place.
We're inviting you back to speak.
Yeah, right. Well, we could record that and you could show it, and that'd be. What do you suppose hair will be like then? You know, will they all be long-haired? Will they be bearded? What will they look like in 30 years? Yeah, I go back to the services and stuff just a little bit. I had to wear a suit and tie at a youth group. No if, buts, thens about it. We held an evening service on Sunday night and Wednesday as well. The preacher preached 2, 3, 4 times a week. Revival meetings of 2 weeks, twice a year. I got a good story for you. One Sunday morning, a man walked up to the stage after the church was over, and he says, "Do you have a pair of brown shoes?" Well, first he says, "Can I ask you a personal question?" I reserve the right to not answer. But go ahead and ask the question. He says, "Do you have a pair of brown shoes?" I said, I was really taken aback by that to begin with. "No, actually I don't." And then he says, "Can we go to your office?" And man, it's just kind of piling on, you know. So I go up to my office and he closes the door, you know, and he turns around and he says to me, I'm a shoe salesman and I have a catalog here. I'd like to buy you a pair of brown shoes." I just about fell over. But man, he set me up so bad. I was just, oh man, I was feared what was going to happen there. But yeah, he bought me a pair of shoes. Pick whatever kind you want. I led songs and I would do surveys of people in the church sometimes and use that kind of as an introduction thing. And I did a survey of mothers in the church, you know, how many kids, names, blah, 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 how old they are, all that kind of thing. You say offhand remarks and it gets you in trouble. You should never do that. There was a guy in the church by the name of Gene Cooker. He'd married a lady named Barb, and they hadn't been married very long. And I said something like, "It appears to me that most of the families have 2 in hand, 1 in the cooker." And I'm standing up there, and this lady goes, wham, you know, and hits her husband. She says, "You suppose he's talking about us?" And of course, people around her started to laugh, and then that got up, you know, and Doug and I were taken aback by that and had quite a laugh. There's been occasions like that. Oh, a revival meeting. Usually guys come in, we'd pay them pretty good, try to, and do something for them that was kind of Iowa. Take them to get a pork tenderloin or something. And we decided to kind of pull a joke on this guy, and so we arranged for one of the families to bring in a pig and just give him a whole pig. And this kid, he's probably 10 years old at most. He comes in with a piglet in a box, and he walks up there and puts it on the communion table. And I just kind of gasp. Man alive. Move down there and just take it off. But those kinds of things over the years. Teen choir tours, camps, retreats, elders retreats, some funny things happen on those. Lots of stuff. Staff grew from, well, Doug was the first youth minister. When he was hired full-time, they hired Lois Johnson to be the secretary.
Did Doug come in 73?
I believe that's right. He came as just for the summer as kind of an intern. And then he came back after he graduated as the youth minister.
Right.
And then he was that for 2 or 3 years. When Albert retired, they hired Doug to do it. And over that period, I mean, they hired Lois, and then they hired a CE guy and a music guy over the years. We've had numerous staff at one time, close to a dozen people, I suppose. Been children's ministers, youth ministers, music, and I use that word in a good way, not being sexist at all, just male and female secretaries, I don't care which. It's really a vital ministry. Couldn't do it without them.
If I don't think of other things, would you pray for us and for the church and as we kind of move forward into the next 30?
Sure. Be glad to. Lord, you ask us to pray concerning our walk with you and concerning the leadership that we might exhibit in your church. And so we do so, and I'm thankful, Lord, for my experience here in this place and the difference it's made in my life and the life of my family and friends of mine, opportunities to lead them and to disciple them, some to baptize and to watch develop into leaders in your church as well. I'm thankful for those things, and I pray that it will continue for the next 20 years, 100 years. I would really, Lord, want no legacy beyond the fact that the church still exists and still vibrant in 30 years from now. It would be fun to find people that I don't know, names I'm not familiar with, ministries that are unimaginable to people that, again, I can't imagine the circumstances of their life. I just pray that it'll bring a smile to your face, that'll be a sweet incense in the kingdom, and that the ministry of this church will continue to go way beyond Eastern Pleasant Hill, but all the way around the world with peoples and opportunities that extend the kingdom way beyond our hopes and dreams. Lord, lead them, teach them, give them grace and enough adversity to lean on it. Teach them to be faithful and to be able to persevere. Continue, Lord, to develop within them the fruits of the Spirit that would cause all these things to be so. Just grant us, until Jesus comes, the ability to proclaim it with freedom and opportunity. And I pray it in Jesus' name.